Kirby is a little guy where you can copy other people's abilities, but what if you can't use any copy abilities for the entire game? Also, Kirby Star Allies is a game where you can make allies, and I'm not gonna have any allies for this run either. Sad. Except when I really need to. Also, if you enjoyed this video, then please consider subscribing. Thank you. So let's start with World 1-1. Now 1-1, the beginning of this level was fine, except I had to become allies with this guy, and then bye-bye. But then I had to be allies again with this guy, and then I unfriended him with a click of a button. Then we have our first mini-boss of this run, Mr. Frosty, and I was ready for anything at this point, so let's do this. And then I beat him with 3 hits. But after that, I had to get more allies, but I like to work alone, so yeah. But then after that, I beat the level. 1-2 was interesting. There were no people related problems, thank god. But the level overall was kinda hard with no copy abilities, but I managed somehow. And then I pushed this big button which does nothing for this run, but then after that I beat the level. 1-3 was pretty easy. I opened up some doors and I had to do this puzzle thing, and I made my friends disappear. There were these Waddle Dees that were in a giant ball, which was a sad sight. But then after that, I beat the level. 1-4 was next, and this one was pretty easy at the beginning. But then at the end, we have our very first boss, Wispy Woods. And I have never been intimidated by a tree before, until now. But his first phase was pretty easy. But then his second phase was, oh my god, what is that? But this phase was also pretty easy too. And before I knew it, I defeated the boss. 1-5 was next, and this one had a bunch of raided areas. That's what I call these things. And there was also a mini boss, and this battle was easy. But then we have this multiplayer section, and this one was fine. But then we have King DDD, and the first phase was pretty easy. But then we have Buff DDD, and this one was kinda hard. But then we have Buffer DDD. He swinged and swinged all around these pillar things. But then after that, we are on the final phase, which is Buffest King DDD. And then he threw some fruit at me, and then I beat the boss, just like that. That was the end. Yo, let's go, we beat the game. Oh my god, who could have seen this coming? Because I sure didn't. Okay. But now we have 2-1, and this one was pretty easy at the beginning. But then we have this part, and I had to get some allies for whatever this thing is. And okay, what's going on? Oh my god, why? So we have this friend circle thing, and after that part, I beat the level. Jesus. 2-2 though was a different story. I had to do this partner thing again, which was pretty easy. But then we have this chef, and this battle was easy at the beginning, but then I got caught by this long ladle, and then he threw plates at me. Why do you have to bring plates into this battle? But then I defeated the boss and completed the level just like that. Then 2-3 was a long level, and I got stuck at one point, but then I did some backtracking, but then I figured that out, and I didn't have to do the backtrack in the first place, which is pretty awesome. But then there was a cannon, and oh no! Oh, I could just skip that. Alright then. 2-4 was next, and this level reminded me of this level from Mario Wii. And wait, why are there so many levels that look exactly like this in Nintendo games? But anyways, there was another raided area after that part, but then I beat the level. 2-5 was next, and this one was pretty hard. There was this ally star at one point, and I have to use abilities at some parts, but this doesn't count because Kirby is not doing anything. It's from allies. So just ignore that part. But then we have our second boss, which is Meta Knight. I mean third boss, but whatever, who's counting? And this boss was kinda hard because sometimes I can't spit on Meta Knight, which is not awesome. I died once, which sucked, but then I beat him on my second try. Let's go. But now we are already on World 3. 3-1 was pretty easy, but then we have Pawn and Con. And the first phase was pretty easy, but then the second phase was kinda kinda easy too. And then I beat the boss with these. But then we have 3-2, and this one was pretty easy. But there was also this bridge, and this part was easy, I guess. And then I beat the level. 3-3 was next, and the beginning was pretty easy, as per usual. But then we have one of the first sisters. At least I think they're sisters. They probably are sisters. Which was Ice Girl. So let's do this. We're gonna beat Ice Girl. Her first phase was pretty easy. She swinged an axe, but then we have her second phase, and she has this ice gun or water gun. I don't know. But this phase was easy too. And before I knew it, I beat the boss. 3-4 was interesting because you mostly go up, and after a little bit of that, we have this partner thing, and this was very long. But after that, I beat the level. But then we have 3-5, and this one was pretty easy at the beginning. But then we have Fire Girl, and her first phase was pretty easy, but then her second phase was pretty hard. She used me like a kebab, and then threw me like a baseball. But after a little bit, I defeated the boss. But then we have the final boss of this world, which is Electric Girl. So here we go, once again. Her first phase was pretty easy, just like the other sisters were, but then her second phase was pretty hard. Like, she spits this electric ball things, but then I defeated the boss. But this was not the end of this level. After the boss, you have to do an ally wheel, but then after the wheel, we have to do this bridge stuff, and then I have to ride a star with people, I guess. Why are there so many ally things in this game? But then after a little bit, I finally beat the level. 4-1 was next, and the beginning was easy, as per usual. But then we have this mini boss, and this was kinda hard, just because I couldn't use any copy abilities. But after a little bit, I defeated the boss, and completed the level. But then the second part of this level was just a boss fight, and it was Wispy Woods. And this one was pretty easy. But then we have Wispy Woods' dad, and this one was a lot harder. But then this tree kept on moving in the second phase. But then after a little bit, I defeated the level. 4-2 was next, and this one sucked because it was a water level, and there were a few raided areas here and there. But then we have Bonkers, and this battle was bonkers, let me tell you. And after that, I beat the level. But then we have Pawn and Con, but awesome. And this first phase was honestly kinda hard because there were these bombs, and they shoot out from the sky, I guess. But then after a little bit, I got through the first phase. But then we have the second phase, and this phase was hard because they were a lot faster, and the course was split into two. But then after a little bit, I beat these two. Then we have 4-3, and this one was fun because it was basically a mini boss rush. And then the first mini boss was Bonkers, and this one was hard. But after that, I beat the boss. But then we have Mr. Frosty, and this one was a lot easier. But then we have the chef, and this one was kinda hard. But after a little bit, I survived. But then we have Art, and this one was kinda hard too. But then after a little bit, I got her. And finally, the last one was Bug, and this was pretty easy. And then I completed the level. But then we have the second part of the level, and this boss was interesting because you have to be on the star thing. And overall, this boss was pretty easy, but I had to use some copy abilities from my allies, but it doesn't count because it's not Kirby. So 4-4 was next, and this one was pretty easy. Nothing really important happens here. But then I showed up at this Ice Girl's planet, I think, and her first phase was a little bit hard, but then her second phase was hard, and I almost died because of an ice gun or water gun. I still don't know. But then after that, I beat the boss. 4-5 was next, and this one was pretty easy. Mr. Frosty was in my way, and this boss was easy. And one very long level later, I completed the level. But then we have this boss, which was my favorite character for some reason. Cloud, and his first phase was pretty easy. But then we have Double Cloud, and this one was kinda hard. Like, this rain thing was kinda hard to avoid. But then after a little bit, I defeated the boss. 4-6 was pretty hard also, because there were these meteor things. After that level, I had to beat Fire Girl, but again. And this boss was hard, just like the Ice Girl was. But her first phase was pretty easy, thank God. But her second phase was a little bit hard. But then after a little bit, I beat the boss. But then we have 4-7, and this one had a bunch of raided areas and an ally circle. But then I beat the level, just like that. But then we have 4-8, so let's do this. The first area was just a hallway, and I was just getting some thumbnail shots while I was was here. But then we have the last sister, Electric Girl, and her first phase was pretty easy, but her second phase, for some reason, was hard. But then I spit on her for the very last time, and I did it. But there was one more guy that I had to beat. He was kinda weird, but here we go. Final boss. Finally, for real this time, hopefully, which was Highness. And this was really easy for some reason, and just like that, I beat him. Oh god, what is this? So his second phase was a different story. This was hard, and I mean really hard, because he used the sisters as shields for some reason, and he threw them like spears, and then he used the ally circle against me, even though that was my thing. But then after like 15 minutes, finally defeated this boss. But then he summoned this person thing named Void, the true final boss. So let's do it. This better be the final boss. It looks like the final boss, but let's do this. Void's first phase was pretty easy. All I had to do was mash A, but then after 5 eyes killed, I had to fight the actual Void part, which was his heart, I guess, and I had unfortunately had to use my allies. But then after a little bit, I beat the heart. But then we had to fight this flying Void, and this was harder because I had to find a spot to shoot him. But then after like a few minutes, I beat flying Void also. But then we have this soul, I think, and Void tried to use my allies against me, which I would be pretty happy about, except I had to become allies with him again, so great. But whatever. After a little bit, I beat Void. For sure this time, right? But then we finally beat the game. Oh, come on. Now we have to mash a lot, and I mean a lot. And finally, for sure this time, I beat the game. And wow, that was a lot harder than I thought. I can't believe how far I've come, and the amount of time that I've spent alone, which was nice. But do I recommend this challenge? Yeah, actually. It was a lot of fun. Alright, that's the end of the video. I forgot to make an outro, so